Weißt du zufällig, wo sind wir? Ja.
Hier sind wir am 28. Februar 76.
Februar.
Ja.
Okay. 25.
Das beginnt today we got
28. Februar, Prabhupada sat at his desk and put tilak.
aber nicht von Anfang an.
Ah, nicht von Anfang. Okay.
Today und dann
Today. Chavana Maharaj? No.
also es beginnt hier und wir sind hier.
Okay, so. So hier, von diesen drei
Ja.
Sternen. Okay, down in the temple room. Sind wir richtig? Down in the temple room.
Also wir sind weiter. Noch eins weiter.
More news of Chavana Maharaj? No? Okay. So, more news of Chavana Maharaj arrived today. It appeared that he left ISKCON's Krishna Balaram Mandir. Wir haben das gelesen. Das haben wir gelesen. Okay, dann lass uns next paragraph lesen. Around midday, Srila Prabhupada was sitting quietly in his room. A large, heavily built young man screaming along the veranda past Srila Prabhupada's windows. Ich habe das gelesen. Dann lass uns von Manipur. A letter from organizer from Manipur. Auch 3 Sternchen.
Die nächsten 3 Sternchen.
Yeah, a letter from Manipur Gita Mandal. A letter from an organizer of the Manipur Gita Mandal came via Calcutta. They were requesting the names of all those planning to accompany Srila Prabhupada on his forthcoming trip to Impal. Any foreigner requires a special inner line permit in order to enter Manipur. After discussing with Srila Prabhupada, Dayananda sent our names and his wife along with suggested date of departure from Delhi, April 10, 1976. When he spoke with Kirtiraj the other day, Prabhupada had approved certain plans for preaching in Poland. But upon hearing that Hamsadutta had already formulated another strategy, he cancelled his own suggestion. It's amazing. He told Kirtiraj simply to follow the GBC instructions. This policy of referring things for GBC approval, both individual and collectively, is something he has done more and more. Prabhupada often says that he wanted to be relieved from management as soon as possible, not when he leaves the planet, but long before, so that he can retire and write his books. So this is an interesting concept here. What Prabhupada institute the GBCs, because he saw in his own, society, Gaudiya Math, where Prabhupada joined, they did not institute GBC. Bhaktisiddhanta wanted GBC, but he didn't institute it during his life. And then at the end of the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left the planet, the whole chaos started because they could not agree. They could not agree what should they do now. And so some people said, well, Bhaktisiddhanta wanted GBC. But the problem was that GBC, things like this spiritual organization was never managed before, was never institutionalized. In the Western world, we have a Christian Catholic Church institution. It's an institution. It doesn't depend on one person. If one pope, they put the pope as a guru, acharya. But if one pope dies, another pope comes. It's an institution. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had this genius that he realized the institution is which survives. The Catholic Church survived for so many thousands of years, because it is institution. Institution can make faults, this thing, that thing, but the institution stays. On the other hand, in India, the tradition is to have a guru-shishya relationship, disciples. And then if the guru makes some mistakes, all the disciples are, screwed. They are also ruined. So Bhaktisiddhanta realized this, and he knew the mind of people in Kali Yuga is unsteady. This thing, guru, relationship, disciple, if he wants to preach on a mass scale, for the local groups, it's okay, but on a mass scale, it's not possible unless you're organized. And we see this also, it works like this. Institution works. For example, we have this sinful McDonald's. It works because it's an institution, and you can open a branch of McDonald's. Anybody can open. You can there's certain rules they have, and you have to pay a certain amount of money. I looked at this, not McDonald's. I was looking for some other, like the franchise. This is called franchising. And you can pay a certain amount of money, and you follow their rules. You have to put the colors, everything. They have everything. They give you the colors. They give you how it should look like. They can supply you the ingredients, and then you earn money, but it's actually part of their institution. So Bhaktisiddhanta saw this. If I want to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, Prithivite Achayadi Nagaradi Grama, I will have to create an institution which does not depend on human factor. Because human factor in Kali Yuga is not good. It's just not good, simply. People are failing, people are making mistakes, people are nonsense, basically. Bhaktisiddhanta saw this, so he thought, let me do this. So he researched. I was reading this a bit during the Bhaktisiddhanta disappearance day. I was reading Bhakti Vikas Swami's book a little bit. And Bhaktisiddhanta was very interested to learn how to do this. Bhaktisiddhanta was not just suddenly he was born and he knew everything. This is another thing of how pure devotees. When we see senior devotee, advanced devotee, we're like, oh. But this devotee was actually working to come to this point. He worked on himself. He worked to chant his rounds. He worked to make progress. How to it depends what kind of services they have. So Bhaktisiddhanta was thinking also, how can I preach on a mass scale? So he was traveling around. Bhaktisiddhanta went all over South India researching how can I create an institution. So he went to different temples, different organizations, not only devotee, non-devotee also. And he found, as I said this before, the best running organization in India was the railway company, Indian Railway, the most best running company. So he thought, how can I run my institution to be like this? And he inquired, and he found out that they have a body of people, not just one person in charge, but many people in charge. And this body is called Governing Body Commission, GBC. So Bhaktisiddhanta said, we should also have GBC. So this what we have, GBC in ISKCON, this is from the railroad management in India. But Bhaktisiddhanta was genius, he said, okay, let me use this. So he wanted Gaudiya Math to be managed with a GBC on the helm. So as we see here, Prabhupada realized that in his time, after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left, the whole movement was basically destroyed because people could not grasp this, could not understand, could not keep up with Bhaktisiddhanta's mind. Bhaktisiddhanta has left the planet, and his disciples thought, this is nonsense institution. We should do tradition. And then they wanted to, same tradition, guru, disciple, like this and that. And so they wanted to install acharya, and then he installed one acharya. So there were big discussions, And they asked one particular senior or very advanced devotee, what does he think? And he said, we should install acharya because this is our tradition. Bengalis, this is Bengali religion. We have a Christian religion here, in the West, but this is Bengali religion, so they know how to do it. So acharya. So they installed one acharya, and this acharya after some time fell down. And he did huge mess. So everybody was fried, disappointed, so then another person said, no, I will be acharya. Another person said, I will be acharya. So they divided so many little groups, and each group had their own acharya. So each temple has their own acharya. Like here, Cologne you have, and I don't know. But Rule wants to become an acharya, and he said, I'm acharya for this temple. And then Rule is the acharya, that's it. Whatever he says, that's the rule, So, and then, some other place, somebody else wants to be acharya, whatever, So, and in this way, Gaudiya Math split into many, many small groups. And we know if the big united group splits, it just does not have a power anymore. So Gaudiya Math became, powerless, you can say. They still did some preaching, they still do even now, but this is nothing comparing to how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati preached. We cannot compare. So Bhaktisiddhanta, and on the other hand, we see in ISKCON here, we have this, after Prabhupada left, you have the 12 acharyas, GBCs, whatever, but some of them left to make a big mess, here, particularly in Germany. But the ISKCON is still there, because this is the system, it's the institution, and ISKCON will stay, whether this acharya leaves or this acharya stays, or whether somebody has 10,000 disciples, somebody has 5 disciples, the institution will stay. And this is what Prabhupada did, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, genius. And we see here that Prabhupada wanted, even during his life, he wanted GBC, he was pushing GBC to start managing so he can oversee the mistakes. So this is Prabhupada's genius. That he could see, okay, Bhaktisiddhanta did not institute it then, and there was mistakes, so let me correct mistakes as long as I'm living. So he wanted to have a plan to preach in Poland. And Hamsadutta, at that time, Hamsadutta was one of the big leaders, very powerful leaders. And he said, Prabhupada, I already planned everything to do this way. And Prabhupada said, very good, I'm not touching it. Wonderful, do it. He wanted to, in this way, train his disciples to manage themselves and preach themselves. And we know later on, this very Hamsadutta, made some mess. After Prabhupada left, he made some mess. I was in Berkeley, California, in temple. That was his temple. Huge mess. But Berkeley temple still exists. Rat Theater in San Francisco still exists, even nowadays. So again, the power of the institution. So therefore, serving the institution is actually assisting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Prabhupada in their mission. Sometimes, nowadays particularly, it is very, amongst the young people, it's very common to say, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. Meaning like, religion means institution, and this is bad. Institutions are bad. But actually institutions are not bad. Nothing is bad if it's used properly in the service to Krishna. Sometimes institution can be, too much, but we cannot reject it because this is the direct invention of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, a direct invention of Srila Prabhupada. So we have to support Prabhupada's and Bhaktisiddhanta's preaching. And so therefore, when somebody supports the institution, may not sometimes be the most ecstatic, but you support the preaching of Bhaktisiddhanta, because this is the preaching of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. This is the preaching of Srila Prabhupada. So this is all I wanted to say about the institution. Anybody else want to say something? Yes.
I find it astonishing that nobody of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta followed him in that way. Isn't that astonishing? I mean, do you have an explanation for it? He must have had also very loyal disciples. Nowadays, you mean? No, Srila
Bhaktisiddhanta.
He wanted already the GPC as Prabhupada did, but nobody followed it. I find this astonishing that nobody dares to follow the rule.
I was not there, so I can I cannot say it. But this is what we can read, from Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. Bhakti Vikas Maharaj has researched this area. But this is what we can read, and also I can see now, for example, in India, this is, I don't know, recorded what to do. But even India, even devotees in India, they go towards this direction, like a tradition. This is a traditional Vedic, traditional Vedic, this is how we do in India. But we see the Bhaktisiddhanta broke so many things. And I can see in the future, in the next whatever 50 years, if they continue this way, we'll be outdated, the Western devotees will be like, you're not Vedic. It will come back to the same tradition. You cannot, Bhagavad Gita says, one act according to their nature, what can repression accomplish? If you have this in your nature, tradition, we are traditional. We are traditional, but we are also not traditional. We are worshipping Gonitai. We have women on the altar. This is not traditional. We have whatever. Women get second initiations. This is not traditional. But this is for the preaching purposes, because preaching is the highest. This is the highest. And actually, reading today the verse, I will also speak today a little bit about Ramananda Rai. And we can see the Ramananda Rai, in discussion with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually went beyond tradition, which is Varnashram Dharma. Varnashram Dharma is very helpful, very useful, but actually our movement is beyond Varnashram Dharma. And this, I think it's been forgotten a little bit there. In America, they say, you become over-intelligent. How do you translate this in Russian? Like you are over-intelligent. I mean, you're so intelligent that you make such a cardinal mistake.
So it's bad.
It's very bad, yes. In America, they said, he's over-intelligent. Because there's some people who are very smart, and they think, this, but then like, oh my God, Actually, they make mistakes. So it's called overly intelligent. So we should just stick. That's why we should read Prabhupada mostly. There's so many other books, and now you go to even ISKCON Vrindavan, there's so many books printed from this and that, Acharya and Premika books and Rasika books, and this is all nice, but we should keep the Prabhupada, because not only because of the books, but because of the mood. It's very easy to go somewhere else. We were talking yesterday with Nitya, something, I'm preparing some seminar or whatever, and she said, tell this, because I found one book, interesting book, by Baladev Bhushana, and she said, tell this story. People like to hear stories they never heard before, even with Krishna. Something like when Krishna was born, Nanda Maharaj, for example, Nanda Maharaj opened his tresor, and he just said, anybody can come and take whatever you want, because he was so happy that Krishna was born. I was thinking, wow, this is such a großzügig, so generous, just he was so happy, just take everything, all my riches, everything. So this is a new thing which I never heard before, for example. And so people like to hear these things, never heard before. But we should, for the sake of keep our own mood of Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness, we should read Prabhupada, really. Majority, 90% of Prabhupada's books, and 10 of something else. Because it's very easy to get into something else. start quoting this Purana, that, this, and Sanskrit, and this is all wonderful. It's all Vedic. But our Veda is Prabhupada. This is our Veda. Our representative of Vedas is Prabhupada. Okay, Prabhu?
Я просто не вопрос хотел, много же вопрос задала, там есть такое Акинчина Кришна Дас Бабаджи Махарадж.
Zu der Frage, Englisch.
Вы знаете
So
его.
the question, Babaji, there is Akinchana Das Babaji, you know him for sure.
Yes, yes, of course.
Акинчина Кришна Дас.
Akinchana Krishna Das Babaji.
И когда с ним общались ученики Прабхупады после ухода Прабхупады,
And when the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, after his departure, talked to him,
он сказал Прабхупаду, что Шрила Прабхупада, он пришел, чтобы продолжить дело Бхактисиданта.
he said that Srila Prabhupada came in order to how to say,
I understand. Expand on Bhaktisiddhanta
expand on
Saraswati.
Bhaktisiddhanta.
Но мы все пришли к Бхактисиданте, чтобы спастись.
But all of us came to Bhaktisiddhanta.
Да.
But all of us came to Bhaktisiddhanta in order to survive ourselves.
Also die Schüler von Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati sind zu ihm gekommen, um sich zu retten.
Zum Prabhupada.
Nein, zu
Bhaktisiddhanta.
Bhaktisiddhanta.
Weil ist der Schüler von Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, dieser Kinchana Krishna.
Okay.
Der Prabhupada hat eine Mission gehabt, aber die haben einfach zum Bhaktisiddhanta gekommen, nur sich zu retten.
Ah, okay, I verstehe. Ja, okay.
Бхактисиданта Махарадж организовал это общество Гаудима. И Акинчина Кришна Дас Бабаджи говорит, что Шрила Прабхупада пришел, чтобы продолжить его дело, проповеди на Западе вообще. А мы все, ученики, пришли, чтобы уйти в духовный мир.
Okay, I understand. Ich hab verstanden. Ja, Duchovny mir, ja. Okay. Du hast Russisch gelernt in der Schule, bitte.
Translate auf Deutsch.
Okay, mach's auf Deutsch.
Wir, Srila Prabhupada ist gekommen, um die Mission seines spirituellen Meisters Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati weiterzuführen, um sie zu verbreiten in der ganzen Welt, im Westen. Und wir, die Schüler von Bhaktisiddhanta, die restlichen Schüler von Bhaktisiddhanta, sind zu ihm gekommen, um sich selbst zu retten und in die spirituelle Welt
Genau.
eigenen sozusagen.
И когда у Шрилы Прабхупады еще при жизни спросили у него про последователей Бхактисиданты Сарасвати Махарадж.
Und als Srila Prabhupada noch zur Zeit seines Lebens gefragt wurde, wegen der Schüler von Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati,
Шрила Прабхупада сказал, что я единственный его сын,
hat er erkannt, ich bin sein einziger Sohn.
а остальные все дочери.
Alle anderen sind seine Töchter.
Потому что продолжает делать.
Hare Krishna.
Weil die Tochter führt nicht das Geschäft ihres Vaters.
Ja, klar.
Только сын
Nur
продолжает.
der Sohn macht das.
Это он при жизни сам Прабхупада
Das
сказал.
hat Srila Prabhupada selbst gesagt. Zum Zeit.
Hare Krishna. Heavy statement. Okay, so this brings to one very interesting point, which is a little bit late. I will not speak too much. Spiritual intelligence. Duhovna razum, yeah. Spiritual intelligence, it's different from material intelligence. Material intelligence means, you know books, Of course, nowadays you don't need to be, you just type and Google tells you everything. But spiritual intelligence requires understanding of the heart of your predecessor, of your teacher. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's description where Rupa Goswami was sitting. When he came to Puri, he would stay in one small hut with Haridas Thakur. And then, one day he went out somewhere. Lord Chaitanya came to see him. And he was not there, and he found a little leaf. At that time, they're writing on leaves, like a written. So touched on the roof of the building, of the ceiling, the hut. Of the hut, yeah. He wrote the verse. Rupa Goswami wrote the verse. So Lord Chaitanya took the verse and he read the verse. And he said this very, very, very important sentence. How can Rupa understand my mind? How can he understand my mind? and this verse was saying, because this is a very intimate verse of Radharani. She spoke this verse when on the Kurukshetra, when Krishna was there, the eclipse and so on and so forth. I don't want to get into the verse now, but the point is that the Rupa Goswami understood the mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is spiritual intelligence. And to be spiritual intelligent requires, of course, so many things, but one big thing requires is loyalty. I have to repeat it, I think, every time. Loyalty is so important in spiritual life. To stand by your guru or your acharya, to stand by him. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kuru nandana bahushaka kirantasha buddhayo vyavasainam. Srila Prabhupada used the purport for this verse of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this purport, whether I will always be firmly sticking to the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Whether I'm in happiness, whether I'm in distress, whether I'm conditioned or whether I'm liberated. Even liberated, I will stick to the lotus feet of spiritual master. And Prabhupada says when he read this purport, he understood what he has to do. He understood this is his mission, that he has to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world. Anyways, this is enough because already 8:25. Hare Krishna. So let's please read this because we didn't even speak about Ramananda Rai a little bit. Verse 31, Canto 6, Chapter 8. Yadahi Bhagavan Eva Yatahi Bhagavan Eva Vastuta Sad Ashachayat Vastuta Sad Asachayat Satyanena Nena Sarve Satyanena Nena Snach Sarve. Let's see, Satyena Nena Satyena Nena Satyena Nena Na Sarve Yantuna Shamupadravaha Yantuna Shamupadravaha Yatahi Bhagavan Eva Vastuta Sad Asachayat Satyena Nena Naksarve Yantuna Shamupadravaha. Vastuta Sada Chachayat Ladies. Yatahi Bhagavaneva Vastuta Sada Chachayat Yatha, just as he indeed Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Eva, undoubtedly, Vastutaha, at the ultimate issue, Sat, manifested, Asat, unmanifested, Cha, and, Yat, whatever, Satyena, by the truth, Anena, this, Naha, our, Sarve, all, Yantu, let them go, Nasham, to annihilation, Upadravaha, disturbances. Translation. The subtle and gross cosmic manifestation is material, but nevertheless it is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead because He is the ultimately the cause of all causes. Cause and effect effectually one because the cause is present in the effect. Therefore, the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can destroy all our danger by any of His potent parts. I think there's no purport, but next verse there's so much purport it's too late. I think I'll just speak a little bit because also Ramananda Rai today, and I'm kind of prepared mostly for Ramananda Rai. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjala Chalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. So this is the classic verse, classic base. This is the basically our philosophy in Krishna consciousness, because there's 6 philosophies in India, Shaddarshan, and this is our, we are part, Hare Krishna Shishri Vinijay Gauranga Dharani Pai Kichai. And part of our philosophy is, of course, Vedanta. We are part of the Vedanta philosophy, but we are, as we call, theistic Vedanta. We are not atheistic Vedanta. Because when you say Vedanta, people will say, everything is illusion. Vivartavada, everything is illusion. Because we are an illusion that we are this, and as I said last time, I was saying in Rishikesh, this book, I Am That. The title, I Am That. I was thinking, oh no, this little sentence, 3 words, are the core of the whole, basically, philosophy of Vedanta. I am that. I am everything. I am God, but I'm just now currently illusion. And once this illusion is dispelled, I realize I am that. But this is all wrong. Our philosophy is, Srila Prabhupada explains, our philosophy is based on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, which is Achintya Veda Abheda Tattva, that we are simultaneously one but different. And this verse also says this. Although material energy is material and is binna in Bhagavad Gita, as described, separated energy, still it is no different from Krishna because it comes from Krishna. just as the spider, there's an example, the spider produces this web from its mouth, I think. Anybody knows spider? I think from mouth. They produces web, net. And then when this, he catches flies, whatever he does, fishes. And then once he ate, then he takes this again into himself. So it's this is the Krishna's, actually how Krishna creates material world. It's material world come from him. It's apparently different, but it's actually not different. So Chintya Veda Veda Tak. Anyways, what I wanted to speak a little bit today, it's also connected a little bit later on with Ramananda Rai. Today is the disappearance. Because nobody really knows the appearance of these devotees. At that time, they didn't have IDs and passports or whatever. So disappearance day of Ramananda Rai. Interesting enough, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wrote an article and called it Rai Ramananda. Bhaktisiddhanta wrote an article. It's a very interesting article. Of course, it's very difficult English, Bhaktisiddhanta. So uses some amazing words on English, which nobody uses. But interesting, he divided this writing into 4 chapters. One chapter is how Ramananda Rai is viewed by the empiricists, meaning by the materialists, the karmis.
How he was viewed by
How Ramananda was viewed by others, by non-devotees. Or how he could be viewed by non-devotees. Second one is how he would be viewed by, what is the second one? Second one, how he would be viewed by devotees. Second chapter. Third, how Ramananda's discussion with Lord Chaitanya is viewed by the beginners. And the 4th chapter, how this discussion is viewed by the advanced devotees. Which also gives us interesting also how do we perceive devotees, how do other people perceive the devotees. I'll come to this very soon. Just a little bit about Ramananda. Ramananda Rai is coming from Bendpur. This is a district of Puri. He's actually from Puri area. So he was very closely also related to Prataparudra Maharaj. Prataparudra Maharaj gave very responsible things, and he was actually a very responsible government person. Which means he was also very rich. And he enjoyed very nice life, you can say. He came from the caste, as they say here, some mixed caste of Vaishya and Shudra. This is another thing which is in India also. In the West we have a Kshatriya, a Shudra. But in India there's also a little mix. Everything is possible in India. So he comes to this mixture of Vaishya and Shudra. And interestingly, his father's name was Bhavananda Rai, which is also he was the great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. And he has 4 brothers. One of them was known as Gopinath Patanayaka. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita there's a story of Gopinath Patanayaka, whole chapter devoted to Gopinath Patanayaka. Yeah. I didn't know. Very interesting. This is very strange. To me, every time I read this pastime, I still don't understand. I just don't understand this pastime. I just don't understand. I guess maybe one day Krishna will be, Lord Chaitanya will reveal this pastime. I don't understand this pastime. Why was this whole thing with the Changas Gopinath actually was embezzling some money from the treasury of the Muslims. Basically, he was avoiding taxes, as nowadays we can translate this. This is normal. All the rich people do. They want to pay less taxes. So Gopinath was taking some money, and he's supposed to pay the taxes, but he was somehow he didn't pay all that. He paid some, but didn't pay all. Anyways, And he was almost killed, but then Maharaj Prataparudra said no. He realized that this is Gopinath and he said don't. It's a long story.
He was killed because of his
No, he's supposed to be killed by the Muslims, but Maharaj Prataparudra excused him because he was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So another brother of Ramananda was Vaninath Rai. Vaninath, another brother of Ramananda Rai. And he was a great devotee, and he was mostly concerned, he was bringing Mahaprasadam to the devotees. Nice service. Every devotee is pleased, you know. So there's this devotee in Prague who is he's serving prasadam. And you know, the first time we were there, 1 day or 2 days, and third day, he walked by me and he does not serve me rice. He serves somebody else. He skips me, you know. We're sitting there, and then I asked why you didn't serve. He said because I know you don't like it. He noticed the first 3 days I did not take any rice, so he said, "Oh, he doesn't like rice." So he doesn't even serve me rice. He knows. This is the first class servant. So Vaninath Rai, serving prasadam to the devotees. Anyways, so Ramananda was very erudite, very scholarly person. He wrote many poems, and he was already famous. He wrote many nice poems. He wrote Balavanataka, which was very famous theater play, and Ramananda was a very, scholarly person, respected person. But he was at the same time great devotee. So one day, at the river Godavari, just a little bit south, in South India, they had some religious ceremony. Everybody was there, Ramananda was there, so did some religious ceremony. And at that time, one sannyasi was crossing the river. And Ramananda, as soon as he saw him, he became very attracted to the sannyasi. At the same time, Lord Chaitanya, that was Lord Chaitanya actually. Lord Chaitanya, when he saw Ramananda, he was very attracted to Ramananda. And then what happened, they met each other. Huh? This sannyasi was Gospod Chaitanya. And when he met him, he immediately embraced each other. They started, shivering, like typical Lord Chaitanya devotees, rolling on the ground, crying. So this is looking from the view, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explained, from the view of materialists, it is very strange. It's like if you would have mayor of Köln, and we go and some, Prabhu come in the saffron, Ram Bhakta Prabhu comes in saffron, and then they see each other and start embracing and rolling on the ground. It looks strange. But so this is exactly what happened there. Everyone was like, what's going on here? Also, because at that time, sannyasis or renounced people, they were not associating with these materialistic people. The government people, kings. So this is all very strange. Because Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explains later, because this is, the meeting was happening on a different level, on spiritual level. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explained this is two different reasons. One is that devotee's position is not based on a race or a position in institution, a position in the society. It is a transcendental position. This is the first point. And he quotes this famous verse, Naham Vipro, I'm not Brahmana, I'm not Ekshudra, I'm just actually a servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis, who actually serving Krishna, of the master of the gopis of Krishna. So this is the beginning how Ramananda Rai and Lord Chaitanya met, and again everybody was very astonished how this happened. But the point here also, Lord Chaitanya has heard about the Ramananda in Puri. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told Lord Chaitanya, when you go down to this place, Godavari, there will be one great devotee of Krishna, and his name is Ramananda Rai. You must meet him. You must meet him. So interesting, meaning that we can sometimes hear about the good qualities of devotees and become attracted. Like Rukmini was very attracted to Krishna. She never met Krishna. Never met Krishna. But she heard about Krishna. She thought, I want to marry him. Rukmini. You know, sometimes I was just telling this devotee, what's his name? Vaishnavananda? Vaishnavananda? Who's here? Vaishnavananda? Vaishnavananda. I asked him when did he join, and he told me join also late 80s. He joined 89, and he's, I said, do you know Adrisha? And do you know, what is his name? Anirdeshya Vapu. These are the famous devotees at that time. When I joined, these were our heroes. You know. I never met these devotees, but I heard Anirdeshya Vapu is doing 1,000 books a day. Who has done 1,000 books a day? So when I came first time to Mayapur, 1992, and I came to Mayapur, and there was a big Sankirtan. At that time, Mayapur festival was 300 devotees, not much. You know, and there was a list of Sankirtan newsletter for month of December 1991. Number one, Anirdeshya Vapu, 32,000 points, 32,000 books in 1 month. You were like, oh my God, you know. This was like unbelievable. So I was thinking, I want to meet this person. I don't know who that is. I want to meet this person. And once I was walking the street in Mayapur, and I saw a group of brahmacharis. I didn't know who they are. And I saw one very small boy in the middle. And I know, this is him. They must be him. This is him, you know. So then I asked. I was afraid, of course, to approach him because they look very serious. They look very serious, you know, brahmacharis. Russian brahmacharis, you know. Like, I was a little bit afraid, you know, and I asked, is this Anirdeshya Vapu? He said, yes, this is Anirdeshya. I was like, wow, my God, I saw Anirdeshya Vapu, you know. So this is how this situation is here, you know. Lord Chaitanya has heard about the great, of course, he's playing the part of a devotee. He has heard about the great devotee Ramananda Rai. So, and Ramananda Rai, likewise, he has heard about Lord Chaitanya. So when they met, they were like, finally, wow, we have met. And of course, this is externally what's going on here right now. As soon as they met, you know, they have an evening, they spent some time together, in the evening time especially, they discussed, if we have time to speak about it. And then Lord Chaitanya told Ramananda, you should retire, forget about all this, come to Puri and stay with me full time. You know. Interesting enough, you know, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati quotes this verse from 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, that the great devotees, persons like you, move from one place to another, not for their interest, but to enlighten the people. Not for their own interest, but to enlighten the people. This is the verse spoken by Nanda Maharaj to Garga Muni. Garga Muni was a sage, and he came and Nanda Maharaj was playing, of course, the ordinary man, and he said, you are just enlightening. You have no other business to travel. So we as sadhus, we have no really other business to travel, really. We don't need to see anything. How much of a downtown of a city you need to see, you know. If you go to Tokyo, it's the same downtown. If you go to New York, it's the same downtown, same people, same shops. But we go there to enlighten people. You do Harinam, you do book distribution, you meet people. And this is why we do this, why we do all this traveling. When I look at, probably more than me, when I look at my life, how much I travel, man, this is too much. Nobody travels like this. But why do we travel? We travel to try to give Krishna consciousness to people. So, another thing very important is that Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya met on a spiritual level, meaning in his original form. Ramananda Roy, as here Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, he said he's a serving maid known as Saki Vishaka. He's Vishaka in Braja Lila. This is Bhaktisiddhanta's statement. And I was thinking when they met, this is, how do you meet? Nowadays we have a GPS, we have whatever, messages, And how do the people meet, and how do these spiritual personalities meet? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Prabhupada says, we met by the order of the transcendental system. This is what Prabhupada says. He says, I was born, this is the verse, if one is, unsuccessful. Prabhupada said in the purport of this verse, 642 in Bhagavad Gita, if somebody is born in a rich family or aristocratic family or in a family of devotee. If unsuccessful yogi is born in a rich family or aristocratic or a family of devotee, they continue their Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada says, both my Guru Maharaj and myself were born in such families. And he says, from the very beginning of our lives, we were Krishna conscious. And later on, Prabhupada says, this is a sentence, we met by the order of the transcendental system. System, yeah. This is what So devotees in Krishna consciousness, this is how we perceive things. This is transcendental system, means this is arranged by Krishna. If something is good, we accepting it. If something is bad, we accepting it. As I must say again, this Bhakti Vikas Swami, for me this is the best way to look at things. He wrote a book about Prabhupada. And he said, if you, the readers, feel pleased with his writings, this is only because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. The readers, yes. But if there's some faults, it's my fault. So this is how we look at things. If anything is success, it's Krishna's mercy, if Prabhupada's mercy. But if anything mistake, it's totally my mistake. So this is how we look at things. This is the transcendental system for us. I remember once I was a very young devotee and I did something wrong. I messed up something. And my spiritual master says, it was a long story, but something about his dhoti, and I messed it up. I didn't do it on time, so he didn't have a fresh dhoti for this very important function. So we were like, how do we do this now? And then he said to me, for me, it's Krishna's mercy. But for you, it's your foolishness. It's your foolishness. Anyway, so...
it's only the perception, our perception of it.
No, but it's... yes, but I should not think if I make a mistake, oh, it's Krishna's mercy. It's Krishna's arrangement. What can I do? It's Krishna's arrangement. You should not be, it's Krishna's arrangement. It's not my fault, you should tolerate because it's Krishna. This is impersonal, but, Anyways, so interesting enough, the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati chapter 2, time is completely running out, but at least I can speak a little bit this. In the chapter 2, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati describes that there's a one preaching or one story for the non-devotees and one story for the devotees. He says this was the story for the non-devotees. The two of them met and they enlightened each other, you know. But for ourselves, we have a different story. And this story is that, as I spoke now, this transcendental system and everything is connected, and that Krishna actually wanted to reconnect Lord Chaitanya as Krishna, Radha and Krishna wanted to reconnect with his dear gopis. So Lord Chaitanya said, let's meet tonight and talk about Krishna. Which is a very good point. When devotees meet, they should talk about Krishna. I've heard one very senior sannyasi from Gaudiya Math some years ago. He said, in my time, when they were, in the 40s, when Bhaktisiddhanta was there, and after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was there, he said, whenever we would meet the Gaudiya Math devotees, we would only talk about Krishna. And he said, nowadays when we meet, people ask us, how's your health? How are you doing? How is this? So many different topics. He said, but at that time we just talked about Krishna. And I thought, well, it's a little bit too heavy, but I had an experience. I met one devotee once in Jagannath Puri. One devotee brought me to see him. This is a long story. So we knocked at the door, we opened the door, and he was sitting at his desk, and behind him was the picture of Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then he was sitting there, and then we came in and we offered our obeisances, he's a sannyasi, and he said, in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, Lord Chaitanya said, and he started reading Chaitanya Bhagavata to us, and giving comments. And we sat there for maybe 2 hours listening, just listening, Chaitanya Bhagavata. And then he said, okay, Hare Krishna, and we said Hare Krishna. That was it. He didn't ask us, what is your name, which country, what is your, nothing. Just, he spoke Chaitanya Bhagavata and then he left. I was thinking, wow, this is the actual essence of the association with sadhus. Hearing Krishna Katha. So, when they met, Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Rai, Lord Chaitanya said, Ramananda wanted to ask him something. Lord Chaitanya said, tell me something about Krishna. Immediately, tell me something about Krishna. So, Lord Ramananda was like, and he said, quote some verses from the scriptures about the ultimate goal of human life. And this is the beginning of a famous Ramananda Samvada, the conversation between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's 5 to 9. I think I will skip it, unfortunately. But maybe next time we can speak a little more about the Ramananda Samvada. And ultimately, they were talking about what is the ultimate goal of life. And Ramananda replied, quoting the verses. This is also a very important point. Ramananda was not speaking out of his mind. I think of this, I think of that. He actually quoted the verse. And Lord Chaitanya was always saying, yes, this is very nice, but there's something higher than this, and higher than this, and higher than this. And in the end, they came to a conclusion that the highest, actually, spiritual realizations is loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. That this is the very, very long discussion and very, how do you say, fruitful for us, but I will do this some other time. So I think for now we'll stop. And just for the end, Ramananda Rai spent basically the rest of the years of Lord Chaitanya's Puri, Ramananda spent time with him. And when the other day when we had the Srinivasacharya, when Srinivas came to Puri, he went to see Ramananda Rai. He went to see all these devotees. So Ramananda Rai was still in Puri after Lord Chaitanya left. So Ramananda stayed in Puri even then after this. Just about Ramananda. some facts about Ramananda Rai. But this conversation is very, very deep conversation, of course, very also philosophical conversation. Okay, thank you very much. Ramananda Rai ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.